Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're plunging into something really foundational if you're serious about scaling a business. It's called Inside the Funnel Mapping Process of Scalable Brands. Ever looked at a really successful company and just wondered how? How do they consistently turn someone who, barely knows they have a problem into a happy paying customer? Well, this deep dive is basically your roadmap for that. We're going to explore how you can transform, what often feels like scattered marketing activities into this powerful, predictable revenue engine. Get ready for some insights. They might just change how you think about growth.
It's so true. What we're about to unpack, it isn't guesswork or, random marketing stunts. Not at all.
Yeah.
This is really about establishing a highly strategic, measurable, and importantly, repeatable process for consistent business expansion. Understanding this whole end-to-end journey is just invaluable. Whether you're starting out or trying to optimize something already complex, it's about being deliberate, really deliberate with every single interaction.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning, but maybe not where people expect. A lot of folks think you start by picking channels, right?
Yeah.
Social media, ads. But the absolute first step in building a really robust marketing funnel, it actually involves looking backward. You've got to define your revenue targets first, really define them. And then you calculate exactly how many new customers you actually need to acquire to hit those maybe ambitious goals. So why is starting with the end in mind so critical here, instead of just, jumping into creating content?
Yeah, that's a crucial question because that initial calculation is not just some accounting thing. It connects your marketing directly, really directly, to the core business strategy. Without a clear numerical target, like, say, we need X customers for Y revenue,
Sure.
your content, your campaigns, they just risk becoming disconnected, floating out there. You end up creating a lot of stuff, right?
Right.
But you don't know if it's actually driving the business forward. So doing that calculation first gives every single step after that its purpose, a clear finish line to aim for.
Right. Okay, so once you have that North Star number, then you start mapping the journey those customers will take. We often talk about the key stages, the buyer's journey stages. Top of funnel TOFU, middle funnel MOFU, and bottom of funnel BOFU. So TOFU is about awareness, yeah, someone realizing they have a problem. MOFU is consideration, they're exploring solutions. And BOFU, well, that's the decision stage, they're ready to choose. Now, when you've defined those stages, what's a common mistake companies make, in tracking progress, and how do they avoid it?
Well, what's often overlooked, or maybe just not defined rigorously enough, is setting up primary key performance indicators, KPIs, for each of those specific stages. A lot of companies track, say, overall website traffic, but they don't get specific about what success looks like at each stage, which is key. So for TOFU, you're looking at things like unique visitors or maybe social reach, pretty broad. For MOFU, it's more about lead generation metrics, so think email signups, maybe white paper downloads, perhaps even webinar registrations. And then at BOFU, it's the direct conversions, demo requests, free trial signups, or actual purchases. These specific stage-aligned metrics are just absolutely crucial. They're how you pinpoint where your funnel might be
Right.
leaking or people are dropping off. Without them, you're basically just guessing where the problem is.
And while you're mapping these stages and setting those KPIs, you also need to build out your ideal customer profile, your ICP. Now, for anyone thinking this just means basic demographics like companies over $10 million revenue, why is it so vital to dig deeper than that?
Ah, good point. It's because an ICP isn't just about who can buy from you. It's really about who should buy from you. It defines the characteristics of those organizations that, one, gain the most value from your solution, but also, importantly, provide the most value back to your business. Think higher retention, more referrals, maybe lower support costs, things like that, because attracting the wrong audience, even if they convert initially, oh man, it can be incredibly expensive down the line. So it's about attracting the right fit, the ones who become real long-term partners.
That makes a ton of sense. Okay, so you have that foundation. Revenue goals, funnel stages, KPIs, ICP. Now here's where it gets, I think, really interesting. You need to truly understand the people within those ideal customer profiles, which means digging deep into developing detailed buyer personas. So beyond just making assumptions, how can we actually start building these personas with, real hard data?
Right, assumptions are dangerous here. The most powerful way to start is often leveraging your existing data, your CRM, your marketing automation systems. You can spot patterns in your best clients, your high-value clients. What are their typical journey paths? How long do they spend in each stage? What specific content did they engage with? Sales cycle lengths. But then the insights you get from that data, they're just profoundly amplified by doing direct customer interviews. Seriously, sit down with your existing customers. The successful ones, yes, but also the ones who churned, maybe even prospects who went with a competitor. Ask them things like, what specifically triggered their search? What alternatives did they look at? Any deal breakers they hit? And crucially, how do they measure success inside their own company? This stuff reveals their authentic motivations, their real pain points. It's gold for your messaging.
And it sounds like we shouldn't stop just at interviews. What other, maybe overlooked data sources can really flesh out these personas?
Oh, absolutely. Think about sales call recordings. Those are absolute gold mines for unfiltered language. You hear objections straight from the horse's mouth. Support tickets, too. They can reveal recurring pain points, maybe frustrations after the purchase, even customer reviews on sites like G2 or Capterra, or just comments on social media that provide really unvarnished opinions, satisfaction drivers. All these insights help you speak to real problems and desires using your prospect's own words. That builds rapport and trust incredibly fast.
Okay, so you've gathered all this amazing data. What's the practical output? Are we just making a list of traits, or is it deeper? Is there like psychological profiling involved?
Yeah, the goal is definitely deeper. You want to create maybe 2 to 5 detailed personas, each with a real psychological profile. This goes way beyond just job title or industry, though you include that too. You need to document what each persona sees. So market trends, what their peers are up to, new tech. You detail what they think, their core beliefs, their assumptions about your industry, about their challenges, their career goals even. Then what they feel, their fears, aspirations, daily frustrations. And finally, what they do, their day-to-day tasks, their decision process, how they evaluate solutions, who they talk to. This whole process, it transforms these flat profiles into like three-dimensional people you can actually empathize with and it effectively market to.
Right. So, yes, include the basic demographic info, job title, industry, sure. But the key takeaway is don't stop there. That's just the starting point, not the whole picture.
Exactly. And this raises an important question. Once you have these deep psychological profiles, how do you make sure your content actually resonates? This is where you identify each persona's jobs to be done, JTBD. It's not about the product they buy. It's about the progress they're trying to make in a specific situation. For instance, someone doesn't just buy accounting software, right? They might be hiring that software to, say, get their finances organized so they feel less stressed at tax time. When you understand that underlying job they're trying to hire your solution for, it totally shifts your content focus away from just listing features towards articulating the desired outcomes, actual solutions to their life or business problems. It's about helping them achieve their goals, not just buying your thing.
Okay, brilliant. So with those detailed personas and their jobs to be done clearly defined, now we can finally move to crafting the actual content for each funnel stage. Let's start right at the top. Top of funnel, TOFU. This is all about developing that problem-aware content. Stuff that grabs attention but doesn't immediately pitch your solution. The goal is really to stop the scroll, right? Make someone pause, think about a problem maybe they didn't even fully realize they had, and teach them why it matters. What's a smart framework for approaching this TOFU content?
Yeah, for TOFU, a useful framework we often talk about is teach, tease, transfer. First, you teach. Give immediate, valuable insights anyone can use, like a simple tip, a surprising stat. Build credibility instantly. Then you tease. You subtly hint at deeper applications or the bigger context of the problem. Creates curiosity. For example, maybe a blog post starts with X surprising reasons your sales forecasts are always off, that it teases, and will show you how to fix it by rethinking your whole pipeline approach. Finally, you transfer the reader towards your specific approach or solution, usually with what we call a bridge call to action or CTA. This structure delivers value up front, but also gently guides them to that next step, maybe an offer for a more in-depth guide or checklist.
And matching the content format to where people actually find information is crucial too, isn't it? Like if they're actively searching on Google, maybe SEO-driven blog posts or long guides make sense. But if they're scrolling social media, perhaps shorter, engaging carousels or quick explainer videos are better. It's respecting how busy people actually consume content. And these assets, they should always include those bridge CTAs, right? Things that subtly lead to middle funnel assets, like offering a content upgrade, say an expanded checklist from the blog post that gets them to subscribe, pulls them deeper into your world. Okay, moving on down to the middle of funnel, MOFU. This is where you really focus on building trust and establishing authority. You do this by creating these value-packed lead magnets that also kind of cleverly pre-qualify prospects. Think comprehensive ebooks, maybe customizable templates, interactive calculators, or those diagnostic assessment tools. They give immediate value, but they also naturally filter for people genuinely interested in your type of solution without being overly salesy.
And a fantastic way, often underused, I think, to build that authority and trust in MOU is designing live experiences. Things like webinars, maybe virtual workshops, expert panel discussions. They let you showcase your expertise through real-time interaction. These formats can really accelerate trust. There's an authenticity there, social proof too, especially when attendees see peers asking similar questions and getting live answers. You also want to implement strategic email sequences here using behavioral branching, which basically means if someone clicks a specific link or watches a certain bit of your webinar recording, they automatically get a follow-up email tailored to that interest. While someone who just opened the initial email gets something more general, it customizes the journey based on their actions. Super powerful. And critically important, proactively address those common objections you found from your sales calls and interviews. If you know what concerns people have, create MOView content, maybe comparison guides, maybe ROI discussions that educates them, and use proof points to diminish that resistance before they even talk to sales.
Right, heading off objections early. Makes sense. Okay, finally we arrive at the bottom of funnel, BOFU. This is all about conversion, getting that final yes. Here, the focus shifts to designing really friction-free conversion pages. Landing pages with crystal clear headline promises, strong emotional benefits, concise value points, and usually just a single unmissable call to action. You want to strip away navigation, any other distractions, just keep the visitor laser focused on that next crucial step, booking the demo, starting the trial, whatever it is.
Exactly. And at this final stage, strategic proof elements become absolutely paramount. Non-negotiable, really. You need compelling customer testimonials, ideally with names and faces. In-depth case studies showing quantifiable results, maybe interactive ROI calculators. High-impact product demos, frictionless free trials. These all provide tangible evidence that your solution actually delivers on its promise. And the key is placing these proof elements strategically right where doubt might creep in, maybe near the pricing or next to a complex feature description. And then to really seal a deal, think about risk reversal tactics. Things like money-back guarantees, maybe paid pilots with an easy opt-out, or even performance-based service level agreements, SLAs. These tap into loss aversion psychology. Basically, people hate losing something more than they like gaining something new. So by removing that perceived risk of making a bad investment, you can turn hesitation into decisive action.
And one last piece for BOFU, but it's incredibly important. Creating seamless marketing to sales handoffs. You need to ensure your sales team can easily see the prospect's entire engagement history. What pages did they visit? What emails did they open? Which lead magnets did they download? That shared context, combined with really consistent messaging between all your marketing stuff and those crucial sales conversations, it dramatically reduces decision fatigue for the prospect and builds confidence right at the finish line. Okay, so we've covered a lot about crafting the perfect content for each stage, but what does this all mean when it comes to actually getting that amazing content out there effectively and measuring if it's even working? First off, it means integrating those detailed personas and their specific objections directly into your content brief. So you're not just writing a blog post, you're writing for Jane, the marketing director, specifically addressing her fear about falling behind on automation, for example.
Precisely. And then you align your distribution channels to the funnel stages. Makes sense, right? Awareness content, your TOU stuff, match that with casual browsing channels, social media feeds, organic search results, maybe broad display ads. But decision stage content, your BOFU assets, that should be pushed through channels where active buyers are doing serious research. Think targeted email sequences to warm leads, retargeting campaigns for recent website visitors, maybe highly specific paid search campaigns for high-intent keywords. This just ensures your content reaches prospects in the right context, exactly when they're most receptive to it.
And to make sure things don't fall through the cracks, maybe develop a 48-hour amplification SOP, a standard operating procedure. Basically, a checklist ensuring all relevant channels are activated within, say, 48 hours of publishing a significant new piece of content. So a new blog post isn't just sitting there passively. It's immediately shared on LinkedIn. It's queued up for the newsletter, maybe gets a small ad boost. And for really precise attribution, knowing what actually works, implement proper UTM parameters on all your links. This tracking reveals which specific distribution methods are driving not just clicks or visits, but actual conversions down the funnel. It lets you focus your time and budget on what truly delivers the right audience and ultimately revenue. It's like putting a unique fingerprint on every link.
Yeah, and if we connect this back to the bigger picture, this whole funnel mapping thing, it's really a continuous cycle, measurement and optimization. It never really stops. You should schedule regular persona reviews, maybe quarterly, to update them based on new customer insights, shifts you see in the market, feedback from your sales and customer success teams. Because your personas aren't static documents, right? They evolve as your market evolves, as your product evolves.
And to keep a clear view of performance, build a dashboard. One that connects your leading indicators, things like demo registrations, qualified lead volume, with your lagging indicators, like closed revenue. This helps you validate if your content is effective and maybe even helps predict future performance. You might see, for example, that a spike in webinar signups now consistently leads to a sales increase 3 months later. That's powerful info.
And if you do find your funnel is leaking or a stage is underperforming, a good way to diagnose and prioritize fixes is using the ICE framework. It stands for Impact, Confidence, and Ease. You score potential fixes, say, on a scale of 1 to 10 for each of those. How big is the potential impact? How confident are you it will work? How easy is it to implement? Then you multiply the scores. So fixing a broken button might be high impact 10, high confidence 10, high ease 10. That's 1,000 points. But say redesigning the entire website homepage might be high impact 10, but maybe lower confidence is the right fix 3, and definitely low ease 2. That's only 60 points. This simple method helps prevent wasting resources on low-impact changes, no matter how easy they seem. It forces you to prioritize strategically based on what will move the needle most efficiently.
Love that IC score. Okay, and the final actionable step in this whole optimization cycle: create a 90-day funnel momentum plan. Identify your weakest funnel stage using your dashboards, maybe that ICE analysis. Set smart, objective-specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound for improving it. Plan specific experiments or content initiatives to address the gaps you've identified. And then, crucially, schedule maybe bi-weekly check-ins. Celebrate the quick wins, adjust your tactics based on the real results you're seeing. This creates a really powerful rhythm of continuous improvement for your funnel. So wow, what we've really walked through today is this systematic process: funnel mapping for scalable brands. It's a comprehensive journey, isn't it? From defining revenue goals and truly understanding your ideal customer, to crafting specific content for every single stage of their decision process, and then strategically distributing and constantly optimizing that content. This isn't just theory. It's a clear structure, a framework for transforming what might feel like random marketing acts into a cohesive, predictable, and ultimately revenue-generating pathway for your business.
Exactly. That's the goal. This deep dive hopefully provides you with that clear roadmap. It shows you how to move from just having scattered content pieces to building a truly integrated system, one that guides prospects efficiently toward becoming customers. And remember, knowledge is great, but it's most valuable when it's understood and, even more importantly, when it's actually applied strategically.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up today, here's something to think about. Consider how often you, as a consumer, navigate through content online without ever fully realizing you're being guided through a carefully constructed journey. Every ad you see, every blog post you read, every email you open, they're often designed quite deliberately to move you along a specific path. What if you started to consciously see every piece of marketing you encounter not just as an ad, but as a deliberate step in someone's intended path? How might that change the way you interact with the world online? Or maybe even how you think about building your own path for others to follow? Something to mull over until our next deep dive.